Wheels are chalked?
Wheels are chalked, vehicle is secure, turning the steering wheel to the left. Get over 100 psi. Then I'll release my spring brakes, push the valve in. Again, losing air in my primary gauge. That supplies air to the brake chambers and spring brakes. Have between 90 to 100 psi. I like to have a rate of 100 because when I put my stick in to make the brake application, I am going to lose a certain amount of air. So now I'll mark the push rod as close to the chamber as possible. As close to the chamber as possible with my soapstone. It is marked. Now I'm going to make a full brake application using my stick or a brake buddy. Air pressure is between 90 and 100 psi. Measure the travel of my push rod. My push rod moved approximately 1 inch, and it moved more than 2 inches. The vehicle will be defective and placed out of service. I know this because I can measure half the circumference of the brake chamber, which is 10 inches times 2, and it is the long stroke because it is tagged. I refer to my chart. I've allowed 2 inches of travel. Please join me in the cab. My air pressure is still between 90 and 100 psi. Move my stick. Turn to the on position. My next test is the low air warning. I'm going to fan my brakes down until the low air warning comes on. It must come on by 55. It came on at 75 psi, but if it not come on by 55, the vehicle will be defective and placed out of service. Next test. Air pressure buildup. My wheels back, straight. Has to build up between 85 and 100 in less than 2 minutes. RPM has to be between 6 and 900. Bringing my RPM up to 900. I'm at 85 now and it's up to 3. In 2 minutes it has to go from 85 psi to 100 psi. If not, the vehicle is defective and placed out of service. To remember the 2 minutes, your primary gauge, your secondary gauge. Took 45 seconds to hit 100 psi. When it took longer than 2 minutes, the vehicle will be defective and placed out of service. Now I'm going to do my governor cutout. Governor must cut out between 100 and 135 psi. I am listening to my air dryer to exhaust. There's no time limit on this. Forever and a day.
Got a rabbit on.
Okay, my governor exhaust is about 126 psi, but when I'm cut out between 100 and 135, the vehicle will be defective and placed out of service. Now it's governor cut in. I'm going to fan the brakes down 20 to 25 psi. 100. If it hadn't kicked in by 80, the vehicle would be defective and placed out of service. Next test is the air loss rate. Shut my engine off. Make a full brake application for 1 minute. In 1 minute, I cannot lose any more than 3 psi for this tractor. If I do, the vehicle will be defective and placed out of service. I'm listening for any air leaks. And if I had a tractor and trailer, it would be 4 psi, and a tractor and 2 or more trailers would be 6 psi. And you're holding that brake, that minute feels like an eternity.
Mm-hmm.
One minute has passed and I've lost no air. If I lost more than 3 psi, the tractor will be defective and placed out of service. Next is the tractor spring brakes. Well, the spring brakes will apply. I hear the air exhaust and know they have applied. If I didn't, the vehicle will be defective and placed out of service. Next is a tug test. I'm going to start my engine, get out and move the chocks to the side. That's where the air pressure builds up. First test will be my spring brakes. On low gear, my spring brakes are holding. Next will be my service brakes. Push the valve in and make a brake application with the foot valve. My service brakes are holding. If either of these tests have failed, the vehicle will be defective and placed out of service. Please meet me on the driver's side to drain the air tanks. This is my wet tank. I know this is a wet tank. It's not connected to any gauge. See no excess moisture or debris. Valve open and closes properly. Tank seems secure. This is my secondary tank. Secondary tank. That's the secondary tank. See no excess moisture or debris. Valve open and closes properly. Tank seems secure. Please join me on the passenger side.
Yeah.
This is my primary tank. I know that this is the primary tank. It's attached to the primary gauge. See no excess moisture or debris. Valve open and closes properly. Tank seems secure. If any of these tests fail, the vehicle will be defective and placed out of service. It's my responsibility to inform the operator because it is illegal to drive a defective vehicle.